Well, I got to change that intro. Sorry, Mark. I forgot to do that from last week. But gosh, it is Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. We are finally over the 4th of July, a long holiday here in the U.S. And it is time to start selling again. I know it has been an incredible week for you.
Meredith, I'm glad you said it's time to start selling, because even though it's still summer, we need to be selling. Too many people, don't you see so many people kind of just shut down until really, school starts in the fall? No, you got to be out there selling now. So we got a great topic. We're going to talk about why top sales performers never stop learning. We got a book and our lightning round. Top 10 biggest mistakes sales professionals make. So let's go to you, because you clearly are a top performer. Why do you never stop learning?
I love this topic because I don't know about you, Mark, but I think one of the biggest challenges I see salespeople make. I mean, I think that people are making sales way harder than it has to be right now. And the reason I think they're making it way harder than it has to be is because they're using sales strategies and sales techniques that were designed for a very, very different marketplace. I was with a client this week, and we were talking about the fact that the November elections, if they're going to really impact their market very dramatically. And she was talking about the fact that this administration has not been good for their industry. That is not a political comment. That is just dealing with the reality of life. And she was saying that, gosh, it's been so tough. And I said, it's really tough for every industry. I said, because sometimes the winds are with you and sometimes they're against you, but you can't be using the same strategy. So you need to be learning, because you need to be learning about what is working and what isn't working.
Well, that's so key, because I think what we're going to see is, as we head into the midterms, there may be a tendency for companies to put off decision making, and this makes learning that much more important. And I incurred this week. I was asking somebody, so what does their annual report say? And the salesperson kind of looked at me like they'd really never even looked at the company's annual report. This is the thing. If you're dealing with publicly traded companies, there's so much information out there. You've got to digest it on a regular basis, because that's going to help you get a leg up in terms of how might they respond when things go unstable. And the thing that I'm looking for in annual reports, what are the risks? What are the risks that the company is identifying? Hone in on those, because that's going to give you a real strong indication as to where to go.
Yeah, I also think that you need to really focus on learning and educating right now, because the buyer is so much more educated. And the worst thing that could happen to you in a call is that you go into that call and they know more than you do, either about your product or service, or they know more than you do about what's happening in the industry, or they know more than you do about the economy. So I think that's important too. When Mark and I are talking about learning, we're talking about sales skills. You need to understand from top performers what skills are working right now, what skills aren't working right now. You need to really educate yourself about the company, like Mark said. You need to educate yourself about the industry, and you also need to educate yourself about the broader market, what's happening economically.
And I'm going to add to that, you got to understand and you got to learn who are their customers. In other words, their customers' customers. There's so many different facets of learning that you need to be doing. And I'll tell you what, this isn't rocket science. It's just getting in and doing the work. And surprisingly enough, it's just doing a few minutes or a little bit of work every day. And it's amazing at the success you can have. Jack Hubbard's jumping in. Love hearing from you. When you stop learning, you die. When you stop learning about selling, your pipeline dies. So true. This is why what Mayor was saying is so valuable. About the company, you learn about the industry, and you learn about selling in general. And that's why we always highlight a book every week that you need to be reading.
Yeah, I love this. A mic drop moment here with Jack Hubbard. When you stop learning about selling, your pipeline dies, right? Like, I think one of the biggest problems with the win-loss ratio is that we treat it like a result rather than treating it like data. And look, if you spend any time in sales at all, I mean, more than 2 or 3 years, you're going to have bad years. You are just going to have bad years. It is part of it. There are years when your business does phenomenal and years where you struggle. It doesn't have to be years if you pay attention to what the data is telling you. Because when the pipeline stalls, it doesn't mean you're doing anything, it isn't like you're doing anything wrong. It is telling you that the marketplace has shifted and you need to shift with it.
And that means, what are the questions you're asking? I mean, I always come back to, what are the questions you're asking and how engaged are you with the customer? Bryn Tillman's jumping in. Curiosity leads to learning, and it's one of the most important traits a salesperson can have. It is. So many salespeople try to go through the whole process as it's just a routine that always stays the same. And we talk about having a routine, so true, but you got to be continuously checking it. Is the routine working? And you have to make sure that, are you really in tune with the customer? And I'm going to come back to a question that I think we need to be asking every one of our customers. What are your KPIs? What are your personal key initiatives that you are working on as a decision maker? We can't leave that element out. That is one of the key learning pieces that I think every salesperson should dive in on.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Will Moreland. We're so glad you're here. Always great content. Thank you. And I'm going to pop Terry Brock right here because I think this is one of the greatest places we need to be learning. I mean, if you don't know Terry Brock, you need to be following him for all of your AI and technology needs. But that's a place where salespeople really need to keep learning. The tools are changing constantly. Terry popped a tool on here last week that Mark and I were both like, whoa, I don't know anything about that one. And you need to go learn it. So that's another place is that, I was talking to a company the other day. Terry, you may want to cover your ears for this, but they said they're not allowed to use AI in the business right now. And I thought, wow, you are going to be so far behind by the time the company finally catches up.
That is amazing that a company would say that. Now, if I'm a salesperson working for them, I'm going to say, fine, maybe the company, I'm still going to use it personally. In other words, this is one of the challenges that I think separates great salespeople from them. Great salespeople make learning their own personal responsibility.
Yes.
It's not what the company's doing, but they are doing it. They're going out, they're buying the books, they're getting the courses, they're doing whatever it needs to help their skills. Because your selling skills are your personal skills. They're transportable. They don't belong to the company. They belong to you. Yes.
Yeah. Mark, do we have a question this week?
Oh, we do. A question comes to us from Cynthia in Tanzania. She says, I've been in sales for 12 years. I'm going to stop right there. Tanzania. You're probably going to sit there and say, why? Well, hey, sales is a global profession. It is global. Never stop and think that you are the only one in the business. But anyway, she says, I have to say that I'm a rock star and I want to stay at the top of my game. What do I need to know? Where do I need to focus? How do I keep growing my edge? Oh, I love that question. She wants to keep pushing. So what are some things you think she should be doing? I've got a couple ideas, but go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, I think number one is you need to really start debriefing every sales call. I think this is something we as salespeople really get away from. But debriefing that sales call and really saying, what did we do well on that sales call and what could we do better. And I'm going to throw in with that role playing. It's something we hate as salespeople, but it's probably one of the most powerful tools that we have to really learn and think about how we could do what is already working and do it better.
I love that. And I'm going to add, you need to allocate at least 15 minutes a day to be reading and learning about your industry. Who are the other competitors? Who are the other players? What's happening in the industry? And 15 minutes learning about the selling profession. Okay, now that's 30 minutes total. I would hope you could spend an hour, but if you just spent 15 minutes a day, I'll tell you what, that's going to be 30 minutes a day total. That is going to exceed probably 98% of all other salespeople.
Yeah, and Terry Brock is throwing in a great one here. He says, with the new GPT Live from ChatGPT, you can stay updated on what's new. And he says it'll basically talk to you, like a friend.
I love that, because here's the whole thing. You can use chat and just simply ask whatever AI tool that you're using and engage with it. What's going on in the industry? What's happening? Now, remember, what you're getting back is directionally correct. Now, right, we've talked about this. You got to look at your AI tool as an intern. You've got to train it. So don't necessarily take it as gospel, but you can take it as directionally very much. But it's going to help you very much. And I love, for that reason, Andy Greenberg is jumping in. I don't like the word artificial. I would suggest augmented intelligence. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I would also say, you need to, if I were sitting, I mean, you are a rock star. But one thing that I love about sports is that just when I think I'm at the top of my game, I play somebody who's so much better than I am. I mean, and so there's always somebody who's more of a rock star than you are. So look up and look out and look at people's, their performance and what can you learn from studying them.
Oh, I love that. And I'm going to say this also. You may have customers that you are selling to, and they're not that big of customers. Okay, fine, fine. Look at who the big dogs are in the industry. In other words, you may be dealing, I'm going to use an example, you may be dealing with companies that are privately held, but there's a big player who that is publicly held. Okay, what is their 10K report? That's their annual report. What's the 8Q? Those are substance updates. And then what do the 10Q? What are the quarterly reports? Read those of the big dog in the industry. And that's going to begin to get you a feeling as to the field and the marketplace that your smaller players are playing in. You educate by looking at others.
Yeah, I really want to say too that, if you want to continue learning, you need to spend time at least on a monthly basis engaging and talking to your existing customers. Learning, online and everything is great, but there's nothing like listening in an actual conversation. And it's a great retention tool as well. But, I would reach out to some of my, maybe 5 of my customers on a monthly basis and just say, look, I want to stay current on what's happening in the marketplace. I've certainly done my homework, but I want to learn from your perspective, what's working, what isn't working, what do we need to focus on and change.
I like that. And some of that has been lost because we've adopted this Zoom mentality of selling, and we never go belly to belly. And I'll tell you what, there is something to be said that if I can be face to face with a customer, and then let's go to lunch, let's get out of the office, let's go meet. And it's amazing how the conversation changes and what you can learn. These are so critical because, again, I got to learn not just the factual information about what's going on in the business, but I got to learn the emotional business that's going on with the buyer. And many times you don't get that unless you can get those kind of out of the norm types of settings, types of meetings.
Yeah, I love what Andy Greenberg is saying. A rock star never sticks with one hit. A rock star always invents something new. If you want to become a consistent rock star, always take a fresh new approach to what you're doing and keep the customer intrigued about what's next. Which really, I think salespeople don't do enough of really educating themselves about the economy. And I think it is incredibly important to spend time every day getting an update. When people tell me, and I hope I don't insult anybody, but I know so many people don't watch the news anymore, and I get it. I mean, oh my gosh, it's biased, it's negative, it's all those types of things. But if you don't watch it, you don't read about it. Like, you have to understand what is going on in the marketplace right now. You have to understand the dynamics between countries. You have to understand how what's happening politically is impacting the markets and impacting the supply chains of your clients.
Oh, that's so true. And here's the whole thing. When you're doing that, don't do that as a way to get negative or a way to find, well, this is why it's not going to work. This is, no. What you're doing is you're studying what's going on. You're listening, you're reading, and so forth to find opportunities to help your customers. And this is what it all comes down to. Your goal is to help your customers succeed. And this is where I love Jack is jumping in saying, educate the buyer too. Exactly. You want to provide them insights. You want to provide them information that maybe they don't have. And how can they learn from it? How can they leverage it? That's how you become a valuable player out there.
Yeah, I love what Bill King is saying. He said, I received great feedback interviewing a prospect on a deal I lost. He gave me great insight into the competition, right? I mean, that's invaluable. What I love about what Bill is saying there is the fact that, again, we're talking about you need to learn whether you're at the top of your game and doing exceptionally well, and you need to learn mostly. And really, I feel far too often the teams that I work with treat a bad result as 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 a negative information. And I get it. I mean, you've got goals to hit, but what it is it's telling you something you're doing in the marketplace isn't working. And that is data. And data is gold in sales. So now you need to learn why your approach is not working.
Oh, I love that. Now I'm going to add something else. Make sure in your CRM system, you write down, you record the questions that you ask customers. Now, here's where I'm going with this. You want to write down questions that you ask, and then ultimately, does that deal go through? Does that deal not go through, and so forth? But you go back and you're going to begin to uncover a pattern of what questions were you asking in previous calls that led to a sale. What can you learn from your own sales experience is going to help you? Ooh, you know what? That's a question I didn't know. I was coaching a salesperson the other day, and we did just that. And it was amazing at how we uncovered several questions, several processes that, I just kind of fallen off the radar screen. Went back, looking at CRM system, pulled them forward, and it's making a dramatic impact. Learn from yourself, but you got to use your CRM system to do that.
Yeah, I also think if you want to remain a rock star, you need to study skills that are not necessarily quote unquote sales skills, not the traditional. And that is like I remember 2 years ago during the winter, I talked my husband into taking an improv class in Asheville, and we would go every Sunday night for a couple of hours. We were clearly the oldest people and the least groovy people in the course, but it was really good. Like it is a skill that makes me better as a salesperson. So what did I learn in that? I learned to be incredibly present. I learned to really think very quickly on my feet, and I really learned to hone my listening skills, all of which are incredibly important for sales. So maybe you take a class on psychology or neuroscience. Maybe you take a class on storytelling. But whatever it is, you need to look at those skills that, maybe you need something on, relationship building or reading people's personality styles, but those skills that can help you outside of the sales arena.
Oh, I love that. And you can learn from others. It's funny because my wife and I right now we're kind of geeking out on Netflix. There are various shows on past presidents.
Yeah.
And they're really quite good. And it's interesting, but we were watching one the other day on Teddy Roosevelt. And you learn what were some of the leadership skills that Teddy Roosevelt had. How can that apply? So again, we can go to school and learn from others who have gone before us. And again, but this is getting outside your norm. And again, great salespeople, great leaders do just that. You got to get outside the norm. Yes, love it.
Yeah, way outside the norm. And I think I also think like taking a little bit of inventory when I think about our question this week, like what are, when you look and you analyze your own sales performance or get your sales coach to analyze your own sales performance, what do you where are you strong, but identify one or two skills that you really need improvement on, one or two skills that would really help you this year, and then deep dive in on those skills. Maybe you just choose one and deep dive in on that.
See, that's a great strategy rather than just trying to be across the surface. Just no, you dive deep. You dive deep into one or two very specific things at a time. Hey, Jack Hubbard, very much agree with you. The new book by Scott Gillum, The Hidden Buyer Journey. It's excellent. Just came out. Grab a copy of it. We need to have that as the book feature some week. But you're right.
Yeah.
See, this whole thing, there is learning out there. But salespeople, you got to take advantage of it. You can't sit there and say, oh, I'm just going to watch TikTok videos. No, that's not going to happen. You've got to get in. You've got to go.
Yeah. Terry Brock, great idea to learn more about improv. This helps us be more creative and stay in the moment. Great tools for improving sales by listening to process customers in the moment. Thanks for sharing this. Yeah, I've got to tell you, Terry, we never laughed so hard as doing that. We had such a good time. In fact, we may go back for round two this winter. But what it does is, the more that you can do, I think one of the challenges of being a rock star is you get comfortable. And the moment that you're comfortable, you're not learning. You need to be doing things that scare you all the time. Last night, I had I had a tennis match, and I was way over my head. It was mixed doubles. I was not playing with my husband, and the two guys were just unfreaking believable. We lost the first set 6-3 because I was not there. We won the second in a tiebreak after being down 5-2, and then won overall. Won the tiebreak for the match. But a couple of things happened there. Number one was I was so pushed out of my comfort zone. I was playing tennis at a level that I'm not skilled to play level was. The second is the confidence I felt. Even if I wouldn't have won the match, it didn't matter. I couldn't believe we got to a set, to a match tiebreak. And so that combination of putting that all together is really powerful. And understand that learning is a journey. This isn't about me becoming the best salesperson ever. This isn't about me doing more business than Mark. It is, am I getting progressively better every week at what I do and how I do it? Like, so don't compare yourself. If you're not the rock star, just get better. That's good.
I love that. You're using confidence to grow yourself. So it's a little bit of uncertainty, but you're confident that you're going to get to the next level. It's not using confidence to become arrogant. And that's the big, big difference. Wow. Unbelievable. Wow. Time is ripping along. We got to get to the book, right?
Yes.
The book, The Permission Mission by Dr. McGovern. Excellent book. Just got my copy a couple of weeks ago. Love it. Dive into it, because again, this whole thing, we give you a book every week. Are we expecting you to read every book every week? I would hope so, but okay, if you don't, at least read one or two of the books that we put out every so often, please, because it's how you're going to grow. Any comments on Cindy's book?
Yeah, I think Cindy did a great job. I think Cindy did a great job with this book. I think it is well worth the read. But you know, I want to talk about one other thing, just because you mentioned that Netflix series, and so I joined our country club. I joined our book club this year, and the reason I joined the book club is because they're celebrating 250 years of America. So every book we read is about history, and I think reading about history is one of the most powerful ways that you can learn. You really learn the grit that it took people through, the as Mark said, the leadership skills that they had. You can learn a lot about sales when you learn about what like George Washington had to do to sell to Congress to get more money for the troops. I mean, it's really, you can learn so much from that. I think it's also really motivating because there's been so much failure in history, and the difference between people who succeeded and people who didn't is they stood back up. And so I think that's a great, what you brought up is such a great point.
Love it. You just keep going. Okay, you ready for the lightning round?
I am.
Top 10 biggest mistakes sales professionals make. Go.
Okay, do we have to limit this to 10?
Wow.
Number one, talking more than listening, thinking they need to fill the sales call up.
Wow. Making assumptions.
Pitching before, like pitching a product before they qualify the prospect.
Oh, I'm going to add to that. Thinking price is what it's all about.
Yeah, thinking there is one buyer involved in the decision-making process.
Oh, I'm going to add to that, not getting to the real decision maker.
Yeah, avoiding the tough questions.
And not truly listening to what the customer's saying.
Yeah, I would say that they another big mistake is that they sell on price rather than on value, or they discount way too early.
And we never really get to the real need that the customer has.
Not using their CRM.
Oh, wow. And I'm going to add to that because I think we're at 10 already. Not following up, not staying in the game long enough. Okay. Hey, why don't you throw in one more and I'll throw in one more. What the heck?
I would say that biggest mistakes are that they don't sell more to their existing customers, or they don't ask for referrals after they close a deal.
Oh, I love that. They're not curious enough. They're not curious enough to really find out what's going on in their industry. Which fits
obviously, they don't learn enough.
They don't. Bingo! Ding, 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 ding. You win the prize. Anyway, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Something we've said has earned you a single dollar. Consider telling a friend about our show, because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
when you sell with confidence and integrity.
All of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right, two things before we go. Three things. Number one, you're an amazing audience. God, I love the comment. You add so much to this show. Thank you so much. It's so valuable for people who are listening to this on the download. Number two, Mark and I will be coming to you live next week from we'll be together in Austin, Texas. And number three, remember to stay tuned, because you're going to be getting more information about how you can get a backstage pass to Sales Logic. All right, have an amazing week. Go close a deal and learn something, and we'll see you all back here next week.